Hello, today I'm going to be talking about Advanced Inventory System version 3.3. In 3.3, I have made significant changes to the way the system behaves. As 3.2 was a significant change from 3.0, 3.3 is also a big change from 3.2 in some of the features I have changed and added, as well as the glitches and bugs that I have fixed. One major bug I have fixed is bags not containing or holding onto the item when you drop the bag on the ground. This has been fixed and even works if an item is inside of a bag and that bag is inside of a bag. So you can have multi-tiered items and bags inside of each other and it still contains all that data. One big change is to the graphical user interface of the database editor for the game controller. The game controller will stay in the prefabs folder and will not be removed from this folder. You will receive errors if you remove this from this folder and the system won't work. So it's required to be there. So we just click Edit Database, as we've done before, and three major tabs that have been added to the system is Equipment, Stats, and Build Settings. I will be going over those shortly. You will see that the interface still looks very similar, but there have been some different changes such as how the labels are presented and groups are presented. You still have your basic tabs for item editing, General, Stats, and Build Settings. Now you'll notice that there are two Build Settings tabs. This Build Settings tab is for generic per item build settings. I'll click on that and show you. You have the 3D preview of your item, whether or not the item has a 3D model, and whether or not to attach a rigid body to the model. Whereas in Build Settings, you have the option to specify which folder to build to, as well as clearing your build settings and building your items in your 3D item previews. Under the Stats tab, you have your typical item settings. Now, the big change here is there's no longer a buff value down here. Instead, that has been replaced by the affected stats section here. Here you can specify what stats your item affects. And you can also add and remove stats. And if you want to change the stat that your item affects, you just click on Set, and then you can choose from the list of stats that you created. So you can choose Attack if you want. And then you also choose how it affects that stat, whether it adds to it, subtracts, assigns it, or it's based on a percentage. You'll also notice that a couple of these labels are marked in red. These mean you cannot change them. They are uneditable for that item type. Whereas if I were to click on the bottle of water, you will see that the max stack size has been unlocked and able to be changed, as this base type is consumable. The types that cannot have a max stack size is bags and equipment. You'll also notice that if it's not an equipment type, then the equipment type tab is red, as well as this has been blanked out. You'll also notice that general items are not allowed to have any type of stats added to them. So we're just going to click Add Stat and Empty and say it affects all. Now, empty bottle is really empty, so you can't really drink it, so we're going to change it back to general. And you notice that it clears the stats section. There's also a bottle of water, which we want to affect health, and we want it to add 10 to health. The other thing is if you click on sack, which is this little bag item, you can specify how big its inventory is down here. The other thing here is under cell settings, you can specify how many columns and how many rows your item takes up. You'll also notice that the icon size changes based on how many rows and columns it takes. Item types has not changed. You still type in a name for the item type and you click the create button here, and it adds a new item type up here. The equipment tab is where you specify what type of equipment your player or character is allowed to equip onto his person. Here we have your basic stuff set up here. Hand is used for weapons or shields and things like that. Under the stats tab, this is the stats that your player has, such as health, mana, what his attack is, what his defense is, as well as his other basic stats such as strength, dexterity, agility, or endurance. And you can delete them or add them. You just type in the name, click the add stat button. And then the other thing you can do is you can delete it by clicking the red X here, or you can click these up and down arrows and it will move them up and down the list. Under build settings, as I went over briefly, there are 3 ways to assign a folder here. You can type it in, you can click this and select a folder, or you can simply click and drag the folder and it will assign the folder. And then if you were to click build all, it will build the items. Another change I made is to the progress bar. This is a custom progress bar that I designed for this system, but it's not directly attached to the system. You can use this progress bar in any of your other projects. It does not require the system to run. You'll also notice I added nice little labels here. This progress bar comes with error labels, warning labels, as well as general info labels. And then when you build the items, they get dropped over into the items folder as I specified. You'll notice that when you click on it, you can't edit its settings, as it has a new class called AIS item settings, and this contains the general settings for the item. Another thing I changed and added to is the chest script. Before, the chest script didn't really have an editor to it, and I didn't like that, so I went in and made a nice, simple to use editor for your chests. You can just click add item, and it will add a new item to the list. You can click change, and then you can cycle through your items and select the item you want. The other thing are these plus and minus buttons, as well as this text field. This will not allow you to go past the item's maximum stack size. We're going to click on empty bomb. We're going to click on bottle of water. Just add that there. And we're going to get rid of the sword. The other thing that I changed is in the game controller. If I click edit databases, under the system settings, I created a button here instead of an enumeral pop-up button, as it gets really tedious to go through an enumeration list as big as the key codes. And so with this, you are given a nice simple list and a search bar, as well as the ability to customize the search criteria, and a nice little help box which describes what these buttons do. So this way you don't got to go through a long list trying to find your simple key, such as X. You can just type in X, and there you go. And it also highlights the current button that you're using. What keys are is keys allow you to quickly map different inventory or item settings in your system. So if you want an action key, you just assign it to E. You can also add new ones, give it a name, and it's very easy to get that key in your game. You just reference the game controller and say get key, and you specify the name of the key that you want to get. That's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and leave a post in the comment section. Bye-bye.